Okay, folks, it's 1 o'clock, so time for us to get underway. I'd like to thank everyone for attending the Committee of Adjustment meeting. I'd like to remind everyone as we get underway that this meeting is in person and online through Zoom and is being recorded. Everyone online will be muted with the exception of the committee members and staff. All comments and questions are to be directed through the chair from committee members, staff, and public. I'd like to remind committee members that you must speak into the microphone so everyone online and in person can hear you. For those attendees that are online, your video picture will not be displayed. You will be muted and will not be able to unmute yourself during an application that you have not requested to attend unless you raise your hand. At the beginning of each application, I will call the application forward. The owner or applicant in attendance may come to the table to your right to speak with the committee. This microphone is live and you must speak into the microphone. If the owner or applicant is online, you will be unmuted. The committee will ask for comments from the public during each application. Please provide your name and address for the public record. All comments and questions should be directed to the chair and only speak when it's your turn. If you're in person and would like to speak to an application one at a time, you may approach the podium and speak. This microphone will be live. If you are on video portion of the Zoom meeting and you'd like to speak and your microphone is muted, please click on the raise hand button located on the bottom of your screen. Staff will notify me that you wish to speak. If you're attending by telephone and you wish to speak, please dial *9 to raise your hand, which will signal staff that you wish to speak. Once a decision has been made concerning your application, you're welcome to leave the hearing while the committee continues with the next application. Members in attendance today are Catherine Graham, Bruce Craig, Paul Veenstra, Todd Robertson, and myself, Jim Keogh. Our staff in attendance are Senior Planner Lindsay Lambert, Planner Kyle Peel, Secretary Treasurer Amanda Werner McKellar, and Planning Student Nick Carter. Excuse me. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Any committee members have any changes they wish to make? Catherine?
None here.
No.
No, sir.
No, nor do I. So I need a mover and a seconder to accept the agenda. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Bruce. That the agenda be adopted as circulated. All in favor?
Yes.
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 I am also carried. Second item on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes from our March 25th, 25 meeting. Any committee members have any changes or suggestions they wish to make?
None. None here.
No.
No, sir.
Nor do I. So once again, I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Paul, seconded by Todd. That the minutes of the March 25th hearing of the committee adjustment be adopted as circulated. All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And I am also carried. Is there anyone with a declaration of interest in any of the ones before us today?
I'll be declaring a declaration on D13-2025-010.
Anyone else?
I have none.
No.
None here.
Nor do I. Okay, first application on our agenda today is D13-2025-010-208 Downey Island. Spiegel here.
Yes, the application is requesting variances to the township zoning bylaw to permit an accessory structure, a storage shed, which was constructed prior to receiving the necessary municipal and agency approvals. The accessory structure is approximately 14.8 square meters and is proposed to be located within the minimum required 30-meter setback from the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River and within the minimum required 30-meter front yard setback of the island residential zone.
Thank you. Kyle, would you like to give us your report, please?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So as noted, this application is seeking relief to permit a storage shed to be located within the required setback from the high water mark. The structure in question was flagged by our building department during one of their enforcement tours along the St. Lawrence River and was brought to the attention of planning staff at that time. Staff have reviewed the possibility of locating the structure in a compliant location due to the depth of the subject lot. However, it was determined that due to the topography of the subject property and the existence of a hydro easement, locating the structure in a compliant location while maintaining the function of the structure would be difficult. Further, the official plan notes that the placement of small storage facilities within the 30-meter setback is supported where they are a reasonable size for the intended use and suitable methods to minimize negative impacts on surface water, riparian lands, and the littoral zone are incorporated into the design of the development. In this case, the structure is of a reasonable size, and the CRCA have submitted comments noting no concerns based on their consideration of natural hazards. To conclude, the application has been found to be consistent with the applicable policy tests and the policies and regulations of the land use planning documents of the township. As such, planning staff recommend approval of this application per the details and conditions enclosed within the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Amanda, any public comments received?
Yes, we received comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, and we received 2 written public comments. One from John Shipman, the owner of Canista Holdings Limited, a neighbor with no objections, and one from Bonnie Shipman, a neighbor with no objections as well. And that's all the written comments we have received.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Is there anyone in the audience in attendance that wishes to speak to the application?
No, we have no one in the audience and no one online with their hand raised that's looking to speak to the application.
Okay, committee members, we'll start with Catherine. Any questions for the application?
I have no questions or concerns.
Paul?
Nothing here.
No concerns at all.
No, I don't either. Okay, we need a motion. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Paul. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Paul, that application D13 -2025-010 be approved subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. Are you ready to vote?
Yes.
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 And I am also carried. Okay, second application today is D13 -2025-011 -52 Hill Island Heights. So, Amanda, would you like to give us your?
Sure. Yes, the application is requesting a permission to expand an uncovered deck that is attached to the existing dwelling. The existing dwelling and attached uncovered decking are legal non-complying with respect to the minimum 30-meter setback from the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River and the minimum 30-meter front yard provision of the island residential zone of the township zoning bylaw. The existing uncovered attached decking is 78 square meters. The proposed expansion is 14.4 square meters, bringing the total uncovered attached decking to 92.4 square meters. The entirety of the existing attached uncovered decking is proposed to be reconstructed with the 14.4 square meter expansion. The reconstructed and expanded decking is proposed to be cantilevered.
Okay, Lindsay, would you like to give us your report, please?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So as noted, this is a permission application requesting to reconstruct an existing attached uncovered deck with a small expansion that does project a little bit closer to the St. Lawrence River. Staff deem the proposed expansion to be modest to create a more functional deck space in that area of the property. Both the existing deck and the proposed deck are proposed to be cantilevered, thereby mitigating potential negative impacts. No comments have been received to date from the public. No concerns have been noted from township departments that were circulated, as well as the agencies. And that includes the CRCA, who have noted no concerns from a natural hazards perspective. In staff's review of the application, we found that it meets the tests established in the township official plan for the expansion of a legal non-complying structure. The application is consistent with the applicable policies of the 2024 PPS and the county's OP, and therefore staff are recommending approval of the application in accordance with the details and conditions enclosed within the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Amanda, any other public comments?
We received comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections. We also received correspondence from the Ministry of Transportation just requesting formal submission to review the proposal further.
Thanks, Amanda. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this application? Yeah. Oh, you're the owner? Oh, but you can come over and take a seat over here. Answer some questions from the jury.
Do I have to touch this or don't? So my name is Brad Snelling. I'm the property owner.
Okay, thank you. Committee.
We have no one else in the audience and no one else online looking to speak to the application.
Okay. Committee members. So you're up first.
I have no questions or concerns.
Bruce,
I have no concerns.
Yeah, no questions.
Todd.
I have no concerns, but I have a clarification question just for information for this particular application and
Sure.
any that may come down the road. This is the first time I, on this committee, have run across a situation where there's MTO jurisdiction. So just for my clarification, that doesn't impact on our decision-making process today. It's more of an FYI moving forward type of situation. Is that accurate?
Lindsay?
Through you, Chair. So circulating the MTO is a standard circulation body that we send applications to. The property does fall within the permit control area of the MTO with the adjacent highway. Further to the comments that Amanda, my colleague, had noted, I did submit through the MTO's portal and received confirmation back that based on the minor nature of the proposal, being in addition to an existing dwelling on a private property, that no permitting is required for this application. Just in general, if there were to be aspects of a Committee of Adjustment application that intersect with the nature of a permit approval by the MTO, staff would ensure to submit through the portal to receive their detailed comments to align and inform the committee in their consideration of the application. But permits from the MTO follow Planning Act approvals in terms of sequence.
In terms of sequencing. Okay, that's very informative. Thank you so much. And yeah, no questions or concerns.
Okay, I had no concerns either, so if we need a mover on the second, moved by Catherine, seconded by Bruce. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Bruce, that application D13-2025-011 be approved, subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee, and we're ready to vote.
Catherine, yes?
Bruce, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And I am also carried.
Great. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Next on our agenda is D13-2025-012 30-33 Vanston Road. Amanda, you.
Yep, we have the agent here as well and the owner. They're coming forward to the table here. So the application is requesting variances to the township zoning bylaw to permit an accessory structure, a hot tub that is 9 square meters in size, to be constructed on top of a concrete patio. The accessory structure is proposed to be located within the minimum required 30-meter setback of the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River and the minimum required 30-meter front yard setback of the shoreline residential zone.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Kyle, do you want to give us your report, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and through you. So as noted, the application in this case is seeking relief to permit a hot tub to be located within the required setback from the high water mark. In this case, the development will encroach no closer to the high water mark than the existing hardscape portions located on the subject property, and the area required to facilitate the proposed development is limited in size and scale. Further, to limit any negative impacts related to the chemicals and water used in association with the hot tub, staff have included a condition that requires any water and chemicals used in connection with the hot tub be disposed of at a location set back from the water body in order to prevent runoff and/or the introduction of foreign materials into the water body. Further, the CRCA have submitted comments noting no concerns based on their consideration of natural hazards. So to conclude, the application has been found to be consistent with the applicable policy tests and the policies and regulations of the land use planning documents of the township. As such, planning staff recommend approval of this application per the details and conditions enclosed within the staff report. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Amanda, do you any public comments?
We just received the comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, and we have not received any further written public comments.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. Is there anyone in the audience today or virtual that wishes to speak to this application?
We have no one online and no one in the audience looking to speak to the application.
Okay, committee members. Catherine, any questions for the applicants?
I have no questions or concerns.
Okay, Bruce?
I have no concerns. As previously mentioned, the hot tub is going to be located inset into an already hardscaped area, so I have no concerns.
Yeah, I have no concerns. I went there. I couldn't get in the backyard, but based on what I've seen here, it looks pretty minimal.
Todd?
No issues.
No, I was able to see it and no, I have no issues either. So we need a motion. Okay, Catherine and Todd. Moved by Catherine. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Todd, that application D13-2025-012 be approved subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and decision of the committee. We're ready to vote.
Catherine, yes?
Bruce, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And I am also carried.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. So next on the agenda is D13-2025-013-301 Stratford Road. And Amanda, would you give us your?
Yes, and we have the agent online if you have any questions. The application is requesting a permission to expand an existing legal non-complying accessory structure, a carport with a two-story addition to the south side of the structure. The existing accessory structure is legal non-complying with respect to the minimum 30-meter setback from the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River. The proposed two-story addition will increase the gross floor area and height of the existing legal non-complying structure.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Kyle, would you give us your report, please?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So as noted, the application in this case is seeking permission to expand an existing legal non-complying structure, which does not comply with the required setback from the high water mark. The application proposes to expand the existing carport structure with a two-story addition, which will have a greater setback from the high water mark and floodplain than the existing structure. It is further proposed to demolish an existing storage structure to help facilitate the addition. The carport is proposed to be converted to a storage area, and the addition will function as a carport on the bottom floor, with the second floor being dedicated to additional storage. The size and scale of the proposed addition is understood to be appropriate for the subject property and does not increase the lot coverage beyond the maximum permitted in the shoreline residential zone. Further, the Conservation Authority have submitted comments noting no concerns based on their consideration of natural hazards. As such, the application has been found to be consistent with the applicable policies and regulations of the land use planning documents of the township, and planning staff recommend approval of this application per the details and conditions enclosed within the staff report. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Kyle. Amanda, any public comments?
We received the comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, and we have not received any further public written comments.
Thanks, Amanda. Is there anyone in the audience or virtual that wishes to speak to this application?
We have no one online and no one in the audience looking to speak to the application.
Committee members, any questions to the applicant? Catherine?
Yes, I have some questions and I guess an overriding concern. It strikes me that this is quite a significant increase in the size of the structure from what is there now. And going up, as the application says, two stories. The upper story of the addition is to be for storage.
Is there someone here to speak to that?
Yes, yep. Tomlin's online. She'll speak to that.
Hi there. Excuse me. Yes, it's just for storage. The main intention is to really just provide the family with additional storage space as if you did go on site, it's quite compact and that little carport space is very full and there's not much parking available with the topography of the property.
Yeah, yes, I did do a site visit, and I must say I've never been so happy to have a rear view camera in my truck as I was that day. Are there any plans to include any plumbing in this addition?
No,
So there's no intention that it be used for a bunkie or anything like that?
no, there was discussion of potentially a future bunkie, but that would be future and it would not be within that building. They do not plan on having any kind of sleeping accommodations inside of the structure at this time, or really ever.
Thank you.
Just one question more out of curiosity. Do you plan to do any excavation into the hillside to facilitate the build?
Yes, some of the rock will need to be removed, but they do plan on placing it along the shoreline on the right. I guess it would be the east side to help build up additional like retaining areas and stuff, but it would be minimal. It's only to allow for the building itself and maintaining the rest of it.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, no, I have no questions.
I had noted a question about lot coverage, which was covered off. Thank you. And the only other thing is I'll be sad to see two majestic pine trees go, but if that's necessary, that's necessary. So no other questions.
Okay, yes, Catherine, you have an additional question.
Thank you. So given what you said about the removal of material from the excavation and the relocation of that material, is the Conservation Authority aware of that part of your plan?
That is for, future plans and they will be consulted. It has been slightly discussed and they mentioned permitting, but we're not at that stage yet. So it would be stored on site when they go to construct and then relocated when they're ready to kind of build that up.
So your intention is to engage further with the Conservation Authority as you proceed with the build?
Yes, at this time we're just trying to get the approvals so that we can get all of the other permits in after the fact.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions I have, I guess have already been answered, so I have nothing either. So we need a mover and a seconder again. Moved by Paul, seconded by Todd. Moved by Paul, seconded by Todd, that application D13-2025-013 be approved, subject to the conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee, and we're ready to vote.
Catherine, yes?
Bruce, yes.
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 And I am also carried. Okay, next on our agenda today is D13-2025-014-33 Riverview Drive. Amanda, would you give us your take here?
Okay, the owner is online if you have any questions. The application is requesting a permission to expand the area, perimeter, and width of the existing legal non-complying marine facility, a boat port. The existing marine facility is a non-complying structure that does not meet the minimum required 4.6 meter setback from the straight line projection of the side lot line into the abutting water body and the maximum permitted width of a marine facility. It is proposed to remove the existing boat port and replace it with an expanded structure.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. Kyle, would you give us your report, please?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So as noted, this application is seeking permission to expand an existing legal non-complying marine facility. The application proposes replacing the existing boat port, resulting in an increase in overall area, perimeter, and width. In this case, prior to the submission of a formal application, township planning staff, alongside the CRCA, conducted a site inspection to evaluate the existing site conditions. The assessment determined that the shoreline area is characterized by limited depth, which restricts design considerations for a functional replacement marine facility located perpendicular to the shoreline. As such, a parallel design was determined to be necessary, hence the need for relief from width. It was further noted by the applicant that the extended boat port is needed to accommodate a larger vessel. As proposed, the expansion enhances accessibility for boat docking by extending further into the river than the existing facility, thus accommodating the water depth required for larger vessels. The property also features a steep topography along the shoreline area, which limits the feasibility of transporting items related to the marine facility usage upland to a compliant storage facility. As such, the increase in area will facilitate additional area to store items related to the use of the marine facility. It is further noted that the development will bring the property into compliance with the minimum required 4.6 meter setback from the straight line projection of the side lot line into the abutting water body, whereas the existing structure is non-compliant. While the structure is proposed to be larger than what would be permitted as of right for a mainland marine facility, it is noted through our review that the proposed structure is to be located near a stretch of shoreline residential properties that have marine facilities similar in scale to what is proposed through the subject application, and as such, no negative visual impacts are anticipated. The Conservation Authority have submitted formal comments noting no concerns based on their consideration of natural hazards. Further, the application has been found to be consistent with the applicable policies and regulations of the land use planning documents of the township. As such, planning staff recommend approval of this application per the details and conditions enclosed within the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Amanda, any public comments?
We received comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, and we have not received any further written public comments.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience or online that wishes to comment to this application?
We have no one in the audience and no one online looking to speak to the application.
Okay, we'll start with committee members. Catherine, any questions for the owner? I believe they're online.
Yes, I have a question. As has been acknowledged already, the existing structure is a boat port. The new structure, will it be enclosed at all in part or in total? Becoming a boat, what I think of as a boat house.
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Tim Deacon. I'm the applicant and owner of the property. Thank you for the question. The proposed design is to maintain a boat port, so it will not be enclosed. So it'll be open with a roof and 4 posts. So similar design as what the current structure is.
Thank you.
Bruce.
I have no concerns. I just was having a hard time when I was on site visualizing this straight line projection out into the water of the property line, because I didn't personally see how what was there was over the line, but I'm glad to see that it's going to be corrected. That's all I have.
Yep. Nothing here.
Todd?
No questions.
No, nor do I. So we need a mover. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Bruce. That application D13-2025-014 be approved, subject to the conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. Vote.
Catherine, yes.
Bruce, yes.
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 I am also carried. Okay, next on the agenda today is D13-2025-015-77 Carey Point Road. Amanda, could you give us what information you have?
Yes, the application is requesting permission to expand the floor area, size, and height of an existing legal non-complying dwelling, including the addition of an attached uncovered deck to be added to the east side of the existing dwelling. The existing dwelling is legal non-complying with respect to the minimum required 30-meter setback from the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River and the minimum 30-meter front yard setback of the shoreline residential zone. The existing dwelling and proposed development are located within the 120-meter influence area of the adjacent provincially significant wetland. Through application number D13 2023-033, the applicant obtained approval from the Committee of Adjustment on October 31st, 2023 to expand the existing legal non-complying dwelling with 2 additions, sunroom and mechanical room, and an attached uncovered deck on the east side of the dwelling. The proposal regarding the expansion of the existing legal non-complying structure has since been altered. An additional floor area beyond what was previously approved under the application is being proposed. An expansion in the height of the legal non-complying dwelling is also proposed through the current application.
Thanks, Amanda. Lindsay, would you give us your report, please?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So as noted, there was a previous Committee of Adjustment application that was approved in October of 2023 for this property. And that application entailed a couple of small additions as well as an attached uncovered deck. Moving through the detailed design, the details of the proposed development have since been changed and necessitated a new application to come forward to the committee. The proposed development now entails more of an overall renovation of the existing dwelling, additional floor area in the second floor, which triggers an increase in height being part of the scope of the permission application. In staff's review of the application, we've determined that it still consists of a modest rounding out of the existing building footprint, and it generally maintains the existing building line in relation to the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River and the front lot line of the property. In terms of the circulation of the application, no comments have been received from the public, no concerns from circulated township departments and external agencies. And the CRCA, as one of those agencies, have noted no concerns from a natural hazards perspective. The proposal has been assessed to meet the tests established under the Township OP for the expansion of a legal non-complying structure, as well as being consistent with the applicable policies of the county's OP and the 2024 PPS. And therefore, staff are recommending approval of the application subject to the details and conditions enclosed within the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
No, we have just received the comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections and no further written public comments.
Okay, we'll start with committee members. Catherine. Oh, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to us?
We have no one online and no one in the audience looking to speak to the application.
Any questions?
No questions or concerns.
Bruce?
Just one quick question. Just wondering what the increase in floor area is compared to what we previously approved?
It'll be the same width as the existing second floor. And we had a lean-to style building on the east side, and it'll be full second floor instead of one floor. So it'll be a roughly 12 by 20.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Paul?
Yeah, nothing here.
No, nothing.
Nor do I. So need mover and a seconder again, moved by Catherine, seconded by Bruce. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Bruce, that application D13-2025-015 be approved, subject to the conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. We're ready to vote.
Catherine, yes?
Bruce, yes.
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 And I am also carried. Last but not least, today is D13-2025-016-5 Miller's Lane. Amanda, would you confirm with the applicants here and whatnot?
Yes, the owner is here if you have questions for him. The application is requesting a permission to expand an existing legal non-complying dwelling with an attached covered deck and an attached uncovered deck. It is proposed to construct the attached covered deck on the south side of the existing dwelling and an uncovered deck on the south and west sides of the structure. The area of the proposed development is currently partially developed with attached uncovered decking. The existing dwelling is legal non-complying with respect to the minimum required 30-meter setback from the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River and the minimum 30-meter front yard setback of the shoreline residential zone of the township zoning bylaw. The existing dwelling and proposed development are located within the 120-meter influence area of the adjacent provincially significant wetland. Of note, the applicant received approval from the Committee of Adjustment on November 26, 2024, to expand the existing legal non-complying dwelling with an attached covered deck. The proposal regarding the expansion of the existing legal non-complying structure has since been altered, and the applicant is seeking further approval to increase the size of the proposed attached covered deck and to construct an attached uncovered deck.
Thank you, Amanda. Kyle?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So as noted, this application is seeking permission to expand an existing legal non-complying dwelling. There was a previous application for the subject property, which came forward at the November Committee of Adjustment hearing to expand the existing dwelling with an attached covered deck. That application was ultimately approved. However, at the building permit stage, we received plans which included a covered deck, which was slightly larger than what was approved, as well as an attached uncovered deck, which was proposed to wrap around the southwest of the structure, which was not subject to the previous minor variance application. Staff had a discussion with the applicant and explained that based on the additional development, further approval from the committee would be required to permit the construction as proposed, which the applicant indicated they would like to pursue. As such, today, the applicant is seeking approval to expand the covered deck slightly beyond the previous approval. To preemptively answer Bruce's potential question, the previous approval was for 24.6 square meters, whereas this approval is for, just make sure I have it correct, 27.14 square meters. So about a 3 square meter increase beyond what was previously approved, as well as the addition of a uncovered deck, which, as I explained, is proposed to wrap around the existing structure. The area in question is currently partially developed with a boardwalk and an uncovered deck, and the proposed development is proposed to encroach no closer to the high water mark than existing development. The Conservation Authority have submitted formal comments noting no concerns based on their consideration of natural hazards. Further, the application has been found to be consistent with the applicable policies and regulations of the land use planning documents of the township. Planning staff recommend approval of this application per the details and conditions enclosed within the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Excuse me, Amanda, any public comments received?
Just comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, and we've not received any further written public comments.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this application?
No, we have no one in the audience and no one online looking to speak to the application.
Committee members, any questions for the applicant?
I have no specific questions about the application, except to say that I did visit the site and I couldn't see any staking in place. We did receive pictures, I believe it was yesterday, which did indeed show stakes, but perhaps the applicant, if applying in future, could stake the projected application area more clearly and sooner. That would be very helpful.
Thank you. Bruce?
I have no other concerns other than those of Catherine.
Okay. Paul?
Nope.
Todd?
No questions about this I can't say that word. The specifics of the application, but to continue the education portion of today's meeting, through you, Chair, a question to the planning department. So you noted there was a minor change in the covered portion of the, if that had solely been the change, would that also still have triggered? Like, is there a variance or a slippage room there if somebody, puts in a building permit that's a foot or two different. I get that this one definitely with the uncovered portion is significant, but just for my understanding, like if somebody put in something, say that was, 30 square meters and then they submitted plans and it was 31 square meters, would they necessarily have to come back here or?
So there is a bit of wiggle room based into the decision based on the wording. Ultimately, it sort of differs based on the type of the application. If it's for a minor variance, we typically look at it to have a bit more wiggle room.
Gotcha.
So for example, if it's new development, say at a 25-meter setback, and the addition is 2 square meters off, then there's a bit more wiggle room as opposed to an expansion of a legal non-complying structure. You're typically more locked down to what you have because you're expanding within the setback as opposed to new development. So in this case, there was a bit of wiggle room sort of considered, but the addition of the uncovered deck as well sort of kicked it over the top. We did have some discussion with the applicant about the wiggle room piece, and they had indicated that they would be willing to scale it back to essentially what was approved through the committee decision, but with the understanding that they would have to go forward with the deck as well, the uncovered deck. We figured that, we might as well bring forward what they want to build as opposed to a slight reduction. So the decision was made to sort of bring forward the 3 square meter increase as well as the uncovered deck all at once.
Perfect. That's read my mind. Exactly. Thank you very much. No questions, sir.
Okay, no, I had no questions or concerns either, so we need a mover and a seconder again. Moved by Bruce, seconded by Todd. That application D13-2025-016 be approved, subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. Ready to vote?
Catherine, yes?
Bruce, yes.
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 And I'm also carried. So that concludes the application part of our meeting today. Oh. We making zoning changes necessary? Should be able to.
Sorry, the next part of the application or the agenda, we had asked Marnie to come in to discuss what you would want to talk about with the small accessory structures. So we're just seeing if we can locate her. Nope, we're unable to locate her at this time. So,
We can't make zoning changes.
well, you can't make zoning changes anyway, but we can do recommendations. So at the last meeting, you had wanted me to add to the agenda the discussion on small accessory structures within the 30-meter setback of the high water mark. So I can't remember. I think it was your intention to provide your support to through a resolution to council to support that. And I think if one of our planners want to talk about this, but about the official plan policy and about accessory buildings within that, because there is official plan information.
Yeah, so I can sort of provide a quick overview. So we, as sort of I mentioned today during one of our applications, there is official plan policy which considers the placement of unenclosed structures such as gazebos or small storage structures within the required 30-meter setback. So we have that official plan policy that says these can be supported under the condition that they're reasonable for the size required, or the size is required. The size is reasonable for the required use, and they have no environmental impact essentially. So while we do have that official plan, we don't have anything supporting in the zoning bylaw. And ultimately, what we're doing with minor variance applications is we're varying the zoning bylaw, right? We're not varying the official plan. So we have the official plan policy that supports this, but we don't have the zoning bylaw policy which supports this. So we would have to make a change to the zoning bylaw to sort of implement, a policy that would allow for, theoretically, 10 square meter shed to be located as of right within 15 or 10 meters from the high water mark. So at this time, we don't have that policy, but as Amanda was explaining, as a committee, you can make a resolution to council, sort of providing support for a change to the zoning bylaw to facilitate that change and then allow this as of right. So then, similar applications to, one of the ones that we've seen today wouldn't come forward to this committee. It would essentially be permitted as of right, and the applicant would only have to go ahead and get a building permit from the building department. If they are, well, essentially, if we do it to 10 square meters, they wouldn't even need a building permit because the Ontario Building Code has changed. I believe the requirement is 16 square meters. If you're underneath and it's an accessory structure, which is an accessory to residential use, then you don't need a permit. So if we were to make this zoning change, these smaller storage structures would essentially be permitted as of right. You wouldn't need a building permit. You wouldn't need committee of adjustment approval. You could just put it up. So it's ultimately up to this committee how they want to approach this. But that's the overview.
So thanks for the explanation, Kyle. I guess my view on this is, although sometimes some of the applications that come before us seem a little, why are we doing this? Given the topography of the township, I could see instances where there would be issues around simply giving a blanket approval. I'm thinking, again, particularly of structures on or near water, where there are contiguous neighbors who could, have a problem with someone all of a sudden putting up a little place that didn't quite work for them and had no recourse really to even have a sober second thought. So my own view is that the status quo, although it sometimes creates a burden for people, to be frank, but I think on the safe side, the status quo is probably the best approach. That would be my view.
I was surprised during some of the recent committee meetings where there seemed to be this relaxation of, building under so many square meters could be permitted. But then again, apparently it can't be, without the proper zoning. And not to disagree with Catherine, but, with regard to a neighbor not liking what somebody is putting up, Planning Act doesn't protect a view. So, I'm thinking if it had to come before us because of a potential conflict with a neighbor that was solely over a view, I'm not sure that the neighbor would win out. So I'd like to see some relaxation because it already seems to be, if I'm right in the official plan, that there is this wiggle room. Because as Catherine mentioned, we've had more than a couple of minor variance applications that left us shaking our head about us having to be involved. So I would like to see something put forward to council so they can at least discuss it. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, no, I agree with Bruce. I've seen a lot of duplication on like certain applications beyond like garden sheds or whatever. And this is a good start. I believe that, somebody like I assumed that you had, that you could put a, 16 square meter up wherever on your property until I joined the committee and realized that there's still the 30 meter setback from the high water mark. But I can see where a lot of people make that mistake, and then they end up here spending $2,000 or whatever they have to spend. This individual yesterday apparently had to spend quite a bit more because he got suckered into some covenant on title because he was within, I don't know, a sensitive area or something. And they said it was going to cost him another, what did he say, $1,500? I don't know, but it just gets expensive. It's more money than what the garden shed costs to do the process. But I like to, there's a number of other situations that we've encountered a number of times, like Bruce has said, whether we tackle them one by one or just deal with this issue. Yeah.
Excellent discussion so far. Thank you. Couple of comments. I think you can differentiate between storage facilities and anything that's going to be habitable. I had a hard time with English today. Most definitely, I know currently that is the case, but I think there's a delineation to be drawn there. I also think any law or regulation put in place should be compliable. And, I've looked at a number of different over the last summer and this summer where, storage facilities were designated as storage facilities. And you asked a very astute question today about down the road. And, I think we need to ensure, not we, there's a very colloquial we there, not this committee, but a municipality needs to ensure that whatever bylaws in place are compliable. And what I mean by that is that there's more of a motivation to comply than not with what exists. So all of that to be said, I think that I agree, putting forward some sort of a resolution to have council discuss and look at the process, and, should they deem it fine as it currently exists, so be it. And but I think our collective observation seems to be that, do we necessarily need to go out for a storage shed, a hot tub pad, whatever the case may be? So.
One was the shed we looked at yesterday, which was, I took a rough guess, 15 feet above the level of the St. Lawrence River. Now, if he's putting that shed there and he's 5 feet from the water, and somebody else put one 90 feet from the water, and it was like Howe Island Ferry Road, and it's level, there should be some wiggle room on the elevation, right? They're always making it the setback. Well, where Paul lives is another one. I mean, I think he's 40 feet above the St. Lawrence River. So why should he have to be 90 feet back and somebody else 90 feet back when they're 2 feet above the river when it's not in flood? Like that, I think there should be something to do with the elevation of it. It's just, I'd like to add that because many times I'm out there and they're saying, like that one yesterday, if that shed gets flooded, Gananoque will be underwater. Like doesn't make any sense to me. I just wanted to add that. You guys got anything you want to kick in? Oh, Catherine, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So my sense of the discussion may be wrong, but I think there's an appetite on the part of the committee to have council consider this in light of a staff report that perhaps we would get a chance to comment on before it went to council. Would that be a reasonable approach?
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
concerns here.
And what we can do, we can table the discussion today instead of doing a resolution. That would provide staff a month to work through a resolution. And we can draft it, send it over to you so we can kind of take a look at it and get the wording correct. So I've made notes based on what everybody has brought forward. And so then we can work with Marnie and we'll get something drafted up, and then we can bring this discussion back for the May meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll reconvene and do some further discussing.
Yes.
Just one last quick thing. With small buildings, people think, okay, I don't need a building permit. And they just put them wherever they want. And I'm not talking about just along water bodies, but they have to remember a property line. So that's something, that we have to educate the people, the public about when they think, well, okay, I don't need a building permit and they can just stick it anywhere. Well, that needs to be emphasized that, they can't. And other than staking, that's all I've got to say.
Well, that's a good point, Bruce. I remember, on Mississippi Lake, it's gotta be, I was a kid 60 years ago. Somebody built a cottage within 2 feet of my uncle's property line next to his cottage. And I mean, it's still there today, right? Yeah, but it was 2 feet, like the 16-inch eave almost was over in his yard. So there's a reason for some rooms, but maybe you guys can answer. It used to be, I think, 4 feet. What is the limit now? Like I'm gonna say in a lot in the village. Do you know what that is, Kyle?
For an accessory structure, like a storage shed or a dwelling? Yeah, so dwelling, it depends on the zoning. I think typically standard zoning is around 3 meters from the side lot line. A storage structure has to be 1 meter from the side lot lines or the rear lot lines, unless it's an exterior side lot line. So, a side lot line facing a roadway, then, typically the 3 meter setback would apply. So yeah, that's typical, I'd say, would be the 3 meter side yard setback, but it does differ slightly depending on the zone.
If you drive through the village, you can tell years ago that wasn't it. I mean, and there was hardly anybody lived in Canada then. And you see how close they put the houses together. It's just a comment. Yes, Lindsay.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add to the discussion, there's been some discussion around certain small structures not requiring building permits, but we're about to come up on a year now of the CRCA regulation having been changed to waive the requirement for small buildings as well from their permitting process. So that's another consideration. This is what the committee is discussing is an ongoing topic that comes up in our discussions internally as we go through pre-consultation files that are submitted to the township. And in terms of an education piece, in addition to minimum side lot line requirements, there would still be lot coverage considerations as well as height and the prohibition of habitation within accessory structures. So I think it would be important for staff to put together kind of an information sheet that's readily available to residents to inform them of the zoning considerations for accessory structures that would still be in play for them and require compliance should we make exceptions for these types of structures within the 30-meter setback.
Good. Thank you, Lindsay. Anybody else?
Yeah, just,
Paul?
Lindsay, you said that these structures add to the footprint, the overall footprint of a lot.
Through you, Chair, yes, there is like a general provision for accessory uses for structures, and the maximum coverage is 4%. And then they factor into the overall lot coverage, which is generally 10% as well.
Okay, so if you're at 10%, technically you'd have to get a variance if you want to put up a 16 square meter garden shed. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair, the way that the zoning bylaw is currently configured, yeah, that's correct.
If you're already at 10%, you can't do anything without permission or a variance or something. I think that's what you're asking.
That's what I'm asking. Yes.
If you already got 10% lot coverage and want a storage shed, you can't put it up
Yeah.
without approval.
If you're the construction on your property, both existing and proposed, exceeds the maximum lot coverage prescribed for your residential lot, then yeah, that triggers an application for zoning relief.
Anyone else? You sure? We need a mover and a seconder for the most important part of the meeting. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Todd. Hold on. Yeah, third by Bruce. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Todd, that the Committee of Adjustment will adjourn to meet again at the call of Amanda, our Secretary Treasurer. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And I am also carried.
Thank you, everyone.